they have finally gotten healthy. They got Robertson back in game 1, like we've mentioned. They got Heiskanen back in their win last night. Welcome to the Checking From Behind podcast. I'm your host, Zach, as always, joined by my co-host, Preston. We've got another banger of an episode for you guys. We're diving back into the second round of the NHL playoffs, where 3 teams are just 1 win away from clinching a spot in the conference finals, and that number could be 4 by the end of the night. Plus, big front office news out of LA as the Kings hire Ken Holland as their next GM, following the firing of Rob Blake just a couple weeks ago. And as of today, we have found out that Rick Tocchet is going to be the next head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, as well as Adam Foote, the next head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. We have a lot to digest and break down, so Preston, let's start off with the Ken Holland news out of LA.
Yeah, so I don't really find this too surprising. The LA went with kind of a veteran GM. Ken Holland was in Edmonton for the last few years, and he did build most of that team. That is, on the verge of making it back to the conference finals for the second year in a row, and that were a Stanley Cup finalist last year as well. He had his fair share of great moves and not so great moves. A couple were really bad, but nonetheless, he's a big reason why Edmonton got to where they are. And then on the other hand, for LA, I feel like they're just a few pieces away from really, taking that next step into contention. I still don't know if they can get there with Jim Hiller as their coach. I thought that was a big reason why they lost that first round series. They had Edmonton on the ropes in round 1. They were up 2-0, and they just completely fell apart and got completely outcoached.
They lost.
So, add players. I think Ken Holland will be smart. He'll make calculated moves, and get some of the right guys in to kind of help propel LA to maybe finally get to the second round. But I don't know how far they get with Jim Hiller still.
I agree with that. Jim Hiller is a great regular season coach. Out of active coaches with the minimum of, I think, of like a season and a half or something, whatever it is like that, he has one of the highest points percentages. But when you get to the playoffs, it's a whole different game. When you are playing the same team for a max of 7-game series, you have to be able to make adjustments. And the LA Kings, like you said, they're just a couple pieces away. They have the talent. They have the scoring depth. They have the defense. They have the team structure, even the goaltending. I know Kemper wasn't great for games 3 to 6 or whatever it was.
Kemper was he was a Vezina finalist, and he was a big reason why LA was even in some of the games that they lost.
Yeah, there was one game where I think he had like 40 saves and they lost by multiple goals. Like you can't have that. Like Kemper held them in that game, and there's a couple of notable moves that I want to go over of Ken Holland's in Edmonton, good and bad. So he signed Zach Hyman to that beautiful contract, acquiring Matthias Ekholm, signing Evander Kane. He traded Milan Lucic to the Flames, and he also signed Connor Brown. Some of his iffy ones, he ended up signing the Darnell Nurse contract. He traded the 20th pick in the 2021 draft, which the Wild used to draft prospect goaltender Jesper Wallstedt. He drafted Philip Broberg ahead of Zegras, and he also drafted Holloway ahead of Dawson Mercer.
What did they get in return for that pick? Was it like a rental?
I'm going to look that up real quick. Trade. What was it? The 20th. Oops. I'm an idiot. Oh, it looks like they traded down. So it looks like the Oilers trade down to draft Xavier Bourgault. Yeah. So the Oilers finishing with the 35-19-2 record in the 2021 season, getting bounced in the first round. The Oilers saw themselves get the 20th pick in the 21 draft. They ended up trading down 2 spots to select Xavier Bourgault and also got the 90th overall pick to select Luka Musenberger.
So it was really a nothing trade for them. They got nothing out of that.
Correct, yes. And
yeah, because I believe that the guy they draft, that guy they picked, Xavier Bourgault, he's in Ottawa's system now, and I believe he's playing in the AHL. So he's never played an NHL game.
And the source of that is OilersNation.com. Just want to point that out. That's where I got that.
I mean, I think his worst move as the general manager of the Oilers was probably that goalie contract with Jack Campbell, because man, that blew up in their face really quickly. Like even from like right from the get go in Edmonton, he looked awful there. They gave him a couple tries, and it got to a point where they buried him in the AHL, and they just ended up buying out his contract because they didn't really have any options. It wasn't even he was playing so bad that teams didn't even want to like take a pick to bury him in the AHL because he hasn't been good in the AHL either. He's still playing. He signed a 2-year contract with Detroit, and he played in the AHL last year and wasn't anything special. So he's probably going to be an AHL goaltender. He'd probably go to Europe for the rest of his career if he continues playing professionally. But other than that, I mean, and you mentioned the Darnell Nurse contract as well. At least Nurse is still playing for the team. He's still in the NHL. He's still a contributor. He's getting paid way too much money still, in my opinion. We were looking at before the video about defensemen who make more money than him, and there's 7 guys. Those 7 guys are Charlie McAvoy, Zach Werenski, Drew Doughty, Eric Carlson, Rasmus Dahlin. Crap, I'm forgetting a couple. Adam Fox, and what's the 7th one? I can't remember the 7th.
Is Miro Heiskanen, or did you already say it?
No, okay. Miro Heiskanen is not getting paid more than him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's getting paid more like Kel McCarr, Miro Heiskanen, a lot of Quinn Hughes, a lot of really, really good defensemen.
Obviously, that's going to change within the next couple of years. However, though, when he signed the contract a few years ago, he was one of the highest paid defensemen. And Ken Holland,
top 5 probably at the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Ken Holland and the Oilers looked at him like a franchise defenseman, and he shit the bed. Now, credit to him, he has gotten progressively better over the last couple of years.
I mean,
but
I'd say what you got now is probably the best you're going to get out of him. Like he's probably like gotten to his peak, and he's probably just going to be at his prime for a few more years and just start to deteriorate like a normal career. He's in that twilight era of his career now where he's going to be, what you're getting from him for the next few years.
Yeah, 100%. And moving on to the next wave of news, Rick Tocchet is going to the Philadelphia Flyers per Elliot Friedman. Just a little bit of a track record. He's coached 2 seasons with the Lightning from 2008 to 2010. The record of 53, 69, and 26. 4 seasons with the Coyotes from 17 to 21, including 1 playoff appearance. And he also, of course, you guys know he had 2.5 seasons with the Canucks from 2022 to 2025, including a 100-point season last season. In the 23-24 season, they win the Pacific Division. They beat the Predators in 6 games, and you take the Western Conference champions to 7 games, and arguably could have won that if Brock Besser was healthy and playing for that Game 7. And now he doesn't renew his contract with the Canucks because Jim Rutherford doesn't know how to shut up, and he goes over to Philadelphia. And there's a little bit of work that needs to be done with Philadelphia, but seeing what Briere is actively done with the team, I think Rick Tocchet has made the right decision to go to them over it was the Bruins were in on him, and there was one other team that was, I think, the Penguins too.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the Penguins and the Bruins as teams that are kind of in the same situation as the Canucks right now, where teams they're not really going anywhere anytime soon. I think the Canucks are probably closer to competing again than the Penguins and the Bruins right now, to be honest with you. They at least have some really good young pieces. They still have Elias Pettersson, still have Quinn Hughes and those guys. For now, at least Quinn Hughes. We'll see. We'll see how much longer he's a Canuck. But that would be wild if they traded him. But with Philadelphia, I think they have a really bright future ahead of them. They have they've been loading up the last few years on prospects. Matevy Michkov had a phenomenal rookie season. I think that was the best choice out of all those teams that were vying for him. The best opportunity to be competing as soon as possible as a coach.
Yeah, and Philadelphia is in a spot where they have a couple young guys, but they also have some older guys, and they're in that spot where they didn't have a great season this past season, finishing at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, bottom 5 in the entire league in general. But you just look at them and the potential with them just being so bad, you have the potential for high draft picks. Rick Tocchet can coach younger guys. They have they fell to 6th, 7th, something like that, whatever 5th.
Yeah, something like
Yeah, they fell in that range. You can get a nice prospect to build around to help that foundation of your team. And it's a much better situation, like you said, than the Bruins and Penguins, where they're kind of in no man's land. You have those couple of aging stars, while the Bruins, they have Pastrnak, who isn't aging. I mean, he's 28, 29 years old.
Yeah, Pasta's not. I mean, Pasta's a stud.
Yeah, he's
don't
a
get
stud.
Me wrong.
You have Swayman.
I mean, we'll see if he bounces back. He's got to be better.
Yeah, and McAvoy
I
on
mean,
the
Charlie
Bruins.
McAvoy getting hurt did kill them as well.
Oh yeah, and the way that the U.S. treatment, I guess, medical staff ended up treating his injury, I guess he wasn't a fan of. It was the Minnesota Wild training staff. I don't know too much about that, but that's just that. Then with the Penguins, you have Crosby, Malkin, Letang, all aging stars. Crosby is still seemingly beating Father Time at the moment. He just he always finds a way, right? And as long as the Penguins have Crosby, it feels like they're always going to try to compete, which kind of sucks because they could have
I
gotten
mean,
a
you need
coach.
to. I mean, because Crosby's still a phenomenal player in the league. I'd say he's still elite. Like, as long as you got him, you got to give it your best effort to try to build. They had their window and they traded away the farm, the picks. They had back-to-back cups. They're paying the price now. They got a bunch of vets on not great contracts, aging superstars in Malkin and Crosby and Letang and Carlson. Goaltending situation's not great. I'd say Boston has some better pieces, but Boston also has like literally no prospects at all
Mm-hmm.
because they've also been all in the last few years. Pittsburgh is starting to build up draft picks. Boston sold at the deadline for what felt like the first time like I can remember in a very long time.
It's been years since they've sold at the deadline. I don't remember them selling at the deadline ever in my lifetime.
I mean,
Obviously,
this is
they
like
have.
I think the last time they didn't make the playoffs, I want to say like 2016, 2017,
Yeah,
something like
it was
that.
around there. I think it was either 2015, 2016, 17, something around there. Next.
2015 they made the cup final, so it wasn't 2015.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
No,
the
no,
day.
no. 2013 they made the cup final. I don't know. Don't listen to
Yeah.
me.
Adam Foote has been named the next head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, replacing Rick Tocchet. And Adam Foote was the assistant coach for the Canucks before taking this job. Apparently, Quinn Hughes absolutely loves Adam Foote. So, of course, that's why they're going to try to keep the star player happy. A little bit of background on Adam Foote. He was drafted by the Quebec Nordiques in the '89 draft. He played 20 seasons in the NHL with 3 teams. He's a 2-time Cup champ with the Avalanche. He has an Olympic gold medal with Canada, and he also won the World Cup of Hockey with Canada in 2004. And he also has his number 52 retired by the Avalanche, and that is in the Raptors at the moment.
Yeah, he had a really great career. He was a
Mm-hmm.
really underrated defenseman of his era. He was kind of like a stay-at-home kind of guy, very physical player. Yeah, but I agree with you. I think this is kind of a move to kind of make Quinn Hughes happy. He's clearly, I can't imagine he's happy at the direction the organization is going in right now. I do have some concerns about hiring Adam Foote. He is very inexperienced as a coach. I mean, I think he joined Rick Tocchet's staff a couple years ago in Vancouver when he got hired. And I think he coached from junior hockey, but outside of that, not really any coaching experience. I mean, he did play for 20 years, so I think that experience does add into it. He's been around a lot of great players, 2-time Stanley Cup champion on those Colorado Avalanche teams when they had Patrick Waugh and all those amazing Hall of Fame players. So he's seen a thing or two. So that definitely does add, to what he can possibly do as a coach. I mean, we'll see. I think they're definitely taking a chance on hiring him, though.
Yeah, they are taking a chance, and this feels like a leap of we're gonna try everything in our power to make Quinn Hughes happy, and hopefully it goes right. Because if it blows up in their face, Quinn Hughes is now gone. This is like a last chance type of thing. I feel like for them, and there's I don't want to dig too deep into it because I don't want to stir the pot and everything, but we all know Quinn Hughes is fucking leaving Vancouver, right? In 2 years, or
I don't
unless he
think
gets
it's a
traded.
foregone conclusion. I think if Vancouver, like, he'll at least be on the Canucks next year. I think I'd be shocked if they trade him this summer. Like, completely, like, jaw on the floor. No freaking way.
That
Like, would you be shocked if they traded him this summer?
this summer, yeah. Like, if first off, if they traded him this summer, I fucking love it for content, dude. I'm like, you know what? This
But
is
that would
great.
be. I think that would be kind of insane, though, to trade him this summer. I think it'd be very reactionary, and I don't think. I mean, they get a hell of a return if they really decide. After the draft, they were like, we really want to go all in on a rebuild, and they're gonna get. If you want to jumpstart a rebuild, you're gonna get a lot of big return for him.
Couple first, Simone Nemec, Dawson Mercer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I feel like it's got to be more than that.
that has to that has to be like the foundation though. Like you have to
it starts with multiple ones. Yeah, like your best prospect, stuff like that. clearly has to start with that. But I mean, I don't even think it's worth discussing what a framework of a deal like that would look like right now. I think it's kind of we're getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves. I think let's see how Vancouver is next year. If they like if they're awful next year, then I think we have serious discussions about trading Quinn Hughes. But then if it might be a situation of like because he's gonna be. I think next year's the last year of his contract, and he's gonna be an RFA. Where would he be willing to sign a long-term contract?
Yeah.
Because if you go to him and like, okay, we have a really great offer from like I don't know, like let's say Philadelphia says, okay, we have a bunch of really great or San Jose or a team like that with a lot of stuff assets they can trade away and not necessarily have to sacrifice a lot of players on their team right now. Give him a really great offer, and he says, yeah, I'm not going to sign. The only team I'll sign a contract with is New Jersey. Or another like contending team, or another crazy team that he wants to play for right now. He's ring chasing.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it does feel like it's inevitable that he is going to end up in New Jersey at some point. It's whether the Canucks decide to trade him after Quinn Hughes tells him he's not going to resign, or if the Canucks are like, screw you, we're holding on to you, and then you can just walk.
Yeah, I could see this playing out similar to kind of like how Seth Jones left Columbus, where like he was very upfront about it, like going to the last year of his deal, like, hey, just a heads up, I do not plan on resigning here. I appreciate you guys, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. So, like, if you want me to play this year, I'll play, but it might be in your best interest to move me while I still have a lot of value, just so you know. And they took what he said and they traded him. They got a good return from Chicago for him. I could see something like that similar happening with Quinn Hughes. Like, you don't have to make it drama filled or like crazy. Just be upfront. Like, look, I don't see a future here.
Knowing Jim Rutherford, he's going to make a big deal out of it in a press conference.
Oh, I think that's also part of the reason. Like, he doesn't keep his damn mouth shut. He just tells the media everything. There's some things you don't need to tell people. Like, you don't need to tell them everything.
Just shut up. Just be quiet. Like, it's not that hard.
How he spilled the beans with like JT Miller and Pedersen. Like, that was ridiculous too.
You would think that he'd be somewhat media trained. Like, I'm sure he is, but like, it seems like he's not. He's been around the league forever.
I think he's just out of fucks to give. He's been around the league for so long. He's won multiple cups. He's like, dude, I'm like in my late 60s, early 70s right now. Like, who cares?
That's true. I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, I don't know how old he might be pushing 80. He looks old.
I don't even know how old the man is. I don't even know how long he's been around the league, to be honest with you.
Long time.
I'm assuming
Long
30
time.
years, 20, 30 years.
He's 76. He is in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, he's been in management for a very long time.
Let's get over to the NHL playoffs. In the second round, we have 3 teams within 1 win of the conference finals. We're going to have a 4th team by the end of tonight as the Florida Panthers, Toronto Maple Leafs are playing tonight. That series is tied 2-2. Florida was down 0-2. They have come back to tie the series. Florida seems to have figured the Maple Leafs out. Florida is getting absurd depth from everybody in this series for them. And just the playoffs in general. I know I have it on the notes, so I'm not going to have you guess it or whatever, but they have 9 games played coming into tonight's game. They have 8 players with 8 fucking points. That's absurd.
I mean, that's Panthers hockey. This was reminding me of a conversation we were having. We recorded Saturday and said we wanted to see the Panthers win like a game like they did Saturday or Sunday night, whenever the game was. Like, win a 1 or 2 goal game that's tight the whole time and suffocate your opponent. That's exactly what they did. Maybe Paul Maurice was like scrolling on TikTok or something and saw us calling him out, and he went in the locker room and was like, look at these fucking idiots from Buffalo trying to say they need to see more out of us. Let's shut those assholes up.
And
that's totally why they dominated the Leafs and beat them 2-0.
And then fucking hacked their TikTok with them making a new one.
Yeah. Have you heard anything from TikTok about that?
Yeah.
That's still...
I heard something from them, and they sent me an email yesterday. I'm like, oh shit, like, I'm gonna get it back. They told me to go like to the help center or whatever, like the little ticket thing on the app, and I did it, and I told them I followed the steps and everything, and I went to go recover my account because I was like, recover hacked account or whatever like that, and they'd be like, just give like the email that was linked to it and the username like with the @ symbol and then every spelling and everything correctly. And when I went to go search it up, it said, what was it, like account not found or something like that. So I don't know.
Is it gone?
No, it's still there. They haven't been active since they ended up hacking it.
That's weird.
That is really fucking weird.
Anyway, yeah, the Panthers look like they got their stuff figured out. I mean, still, I think it's still anyone's series. I think Austin Matthews needs to show up. He's been kind of non-existent for the last few games. I don't know if I haven't watched too much of this series. I'm not sure if he's getting matched up with Barkov, and he's kind of just erased him off the board because Barkov's pretty good at that.
Barkov's the best in the game at that, in my opinion. And Matthews is on a goalless streak right now. I don't think he has a goal in the series, if I'm correct.
I don't believe he does. He might have a goal in game 1, but outside of that, I know he's been at least 3 games without a goal.
And credit to the Panthers for adjusting too. And I know Craig Berube is not some bum coach that you can just push over and everything. So I do expect the Leafs to come out as hard as possible tonight. Not saying that they weren't in games 3 and 4, but to have Paul Maurice adjust like that, I'm expecting Berube to come back and adjust just as hard. And the one player I've talked about, Nylander and Nyes, the last couple episodes, those two are still going, even in the last couple games and the last couple losses. Mitch Marner needs to get going. And I have a stat. Do I have the stat? Yeah. So, Mitch Marner since 2016-17. In games 1 to 4, he has 32 career games played and 39 points. That's a 1.22 point per game average. In games 5 to 7, he has 19 games played. He has only 8 points in that. That is less than a half a point per game, 0.42 points per game. I don't know what's going on with Marner. I don't know if it's the space. I don't know what it is. And of course, it's not all on him. I'm not blaming everything on him. I want to see Matthews find the back of the net. I want to see the team as a whole just play winning hockey, right? Joseph Woll held the Maple Leafs in game 4 in that shutout loss. And frankly, held the game from really getting out of hand. And the physicality that the Panthers brought the last couple games, they've outmatched the Maple Leafs. And I want to see the Maple Leafs here in game 5 come back how they played in games 1 and 2 and be just as physical and get in the Panthers' faces and impose their will, win the puck battles. But this matchup it's been as physical as possible. And it's also been a chess match too. I think the series is gonna go 6 to 7 games. It has to go at least 6 games.
I think if Florida wins tonight, it's Panthers in 6.
You think it's Panthers in 6 if they win tonight? I'd pick Panthers in 5, but I don't hate that, but it's hard to see it.
I don't think it's hard to see it. I mean, I think the Panthers have figured out the Maple Leafs. I think the Panthers are comfortable in tight games. I don't think they'll ever feel uncomfortable leading by a goal late in a game or even being tied late in the third period. I think that's where they have a big advantage over the Maple Leafs is they might get a little skittish and make a mistake or get hemmed in their zone for a long time. With the Panthers, I don't see it really affecting their play, and I think they feel really comfortable in the spot they're in. They've been here, done that. This is what this team is built for.
They just find ways to win, and
Yep.
I don't disagree with that because that's all 100% true. But I'm bringing it back to coaching too, and of course, coaching isn't all of it because you still have the same guys that have been going through this mental barrier the last 8 years, whatever it is. So that's hard as a player too. But I guess let me put it this way: if the Panthers come out tonight, and we'll know by the time this episode releases tomorrow night. If the Panthers come out tonight and slap the Leafs in the face and they win like 5-1 or 5-2, or even if they win like a 2-1 game, but they control the game for most of it, okay, I'll get with the Cats in 6. I'll come on the next episode and be like, fuck, I thought maybe the Leafs could pull it out in 7 or 6, whatever, and the Cats end up winning in 6 because I think they play one more game before our next episode, if I'm not mistaken. I think they play Friday night, whatever.
Yeah, they have a game 6 is Friday night.
Yeah. So
we could potentially have all the second round done by Saturday. So
that would be ideal. I'm not gonna lie. And then
because Edmonton, I think let's move into the other game tonight now, where we have Edmonton, who's leading Vegas 3-1. Game 5 is tonight at 9:30 Eastern. I'm still kind of surprised from from the Oilers. I
Yeah.
know I'm loyal to the Oil. I've been on the Oilers train all off season, all season pretty much.
Yeah,
I've been an
all season.
Oilers guy, but like, man, they're like taking it to Vegas right now. I know Vegas. This series could have potentially been over if Leon Draisaitl doesn't score a goal on himself with .4 seconds left. That was so crazy.
That was wild because I wake up the next morning because the game's at like 9:30, 10 o'clock every night. I work at
Mm-hmm.
8 in the morning, so I'm not gonna stay up, whatever. So I wake up in the morning, I look at my phone, everybody's talking about how unlucky Edmonton was. I'm like, oh shit, like probably a couple bounces that didn't go their way. I go on Twitter and it's a .4 seconds left, game winning goal. And I'm looking at the replay and Leon Draisaitl on a puck that was going completely wide across the crease, sticks his stick out to try to block it, and it deflects off and goes in.
I mean, I get why he was back there. It's desperation. Tied game. You're doing whatever you can to take the puck out, like make sure the puck stays out. Because I mean, the net was open. Skinner got really aggressive and pushed Riley Smith out wide and forced him to take a tough shot. And it was going to go wide, but it could have very well been going in anyway. And Draisaitl was just trying to prevent that. It was just, I say, just bad luck. It is kind of crazy. I was watching that game. I was up late because it was a Saturday night. And I was like, oh, yeah, this game's going to overtime. And then I see, like, Vegas, like, had a crazy rush, like, the last couple minutes of the game, trying to not let this game go to overtime. And, yeah, they scored. It was really confusing because the ref was waving no goal, and Draisaitl was like, hey, let's get off the ice. Let's get to the locker room. And all the Vegas guys were, like, celebrating like they won the game. And even the commentator was like, oh, I think it hit the post. Like, the ref waved it off immediately. And then they were like, oh, no, he's waving it off because he said the time ran out. And then they showed the review, like they showed the replay, and it went in with .4 seconds. Like, it was so confusing.
And the NHL or TNT, whatever, Instagram account posted like the reaction of all the people at the panel and everything. They're getting ready for their overtime, like talk at the table and everything.
Yeah.
And they're all getting their mics on and they're all looking at like their little thing. They're like, what's going on and everything. And then you see all them jumping around. They give like the reaction of when it gets called a goal and stuff. So now they have to get ready for like the post game stuff instead of the overtime. And
they're probably happy that they didn't have to get ready for overtime.
Yeah, they're like, we get to fucking get out of here.
Yeah, especially because that's in the East Coast in Atlanta, that studio. So it was like a 2 o'clock night for them.
Yeah, they're working 8-hour days, 9-hour days, probably
Poor
even
guys,
more.
Man, they're getting paid to talk about playoff hockey. Oh man,
Man, I would fucking work 15-hour days if I got to do that. Man,
I mean, it's tough. You're still standing in one place all day away from everything.
Oh, yeah.
I get it. No one wants to be at work until 2 a.m. in any job.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And
I think it was I was listening to Chicklets and their Biz was talking about how he used to before he was like in broadcasting, he would always want overtime in the playoffs. He's like, oh, it's playoff hockey, like overtime's awesome. And his first year on TNT was like, oh, let's go for overtime, and everyone was like, shut up. He's like, huh? I was like, we don't want overtime. I gotta go home and see my wife. And he was like, what? He's like, no, overtime means more work for us, especially if it goes to double overtime. We're getting home at 3 a.m. And then he's like, yeah, I don't root for overtime anymore.
It'd be nice to actually go home and relax before you have to be back at the studio at what, 3 o'clock the next day, 4 o'clock.
I don't know how early they get to the studios to
right.
get ready for games. Like they got to do makeup and shoot stuff. I don't know. I have no idea what that looks like.
I don't know. It is a confidence boost though for Stuart Skinner to get that shutout in Game 4 as well.
Oh, huge! I think he was pretty good in Game 3. All things. I know he technically done in 5 goals. The fifth goal, that's not really on him.
Yeah.
But I thought he was good enough to win the Oilers that game in Game 3, and then Game 4, I thought he was stellar. I mean, Edmonton did take it to the Knights again. It kind of reminded me of Game 2. No, Game 1. I'm sorry, where after the first period, Edmonton kind of just took over that game. It wasn't as dominant as it was in Game 1. But I kind of got shades of that throughout most of the game. But yeah, I've been kind of surprised by how much, Edmonton has taken it to Vegas. Because I thought Vegas was the deeper team. I thought they had more well-rounded talent. They had the better goaltending. I mean, I still picked the Oilers in 6 because I'm loyal to the Oil. But yeah, I mean, I expected more out of Vegas.
I 100% expected more. And I picked Vegas to win this series. And as most people did, and now it's biting me in the ass. It's not looking good. It's blowing up in my face.
I mean, you would know there was no issue. There was nothing wrong with picking Vegas. I thought this was going to be a tighter series.
Mm-hmm.
This is a series where like Vegas, has the better depth, has the better goaltending, but the depth has been showing up for the Oilers in ways we haven't seen all season. This happened in round one against the Kings too, where you have guys like Connor Brown and Adam Henrique and Matthias Janmark, showing up in places. Like Corey Perry's been awesome too. He's been playing on that first line with McDavid and Draisaitl. At time he's been their go-to guy. He's been amazing for a guy who turns 40 in a week.
He's been phenomenal.
You can't really complain, And Pickard, you could say his numbers aren't anything to write home about, but he's winning. He's doing enough to win them games. Same thing with Stuart Skinner, at least in game 4. Like they've been enough.
You know what? From now on, if you're no block, sit Skinner the first couple games of the playoffs, fuck it, and then bring him back in. The last postseason, he got benched for Pickard for one game, comes back in, lights out. This year, it takes a Pickard injury, but he gets benched for a couple games, comes back in.
I'm kind of curious, though. So let's say Edmonton closes out the series tonight.
Yeah.
And Skinner plays really well, and, you have a couple days rest, until round 3 starts, and let's say Pickard's ready for game 1 in the conference final. Do you go back to him, or do you keep riding Skinner?
If Skinner plays good tonight, I stay with Skinner. It's playoff hockey, ride with the hot hand.
I agree. Yeah, I think you ride with the hot hand, and then know what you have in Pickard in case Skinner shits the bed again.
If the Oilers win tonight, but it's like a 6-5 game or 5-4, and he allows like 4 goals on 25 shots or something, you have to weigh your options with Pickard. Pickard has to be 100% healthy though. Like you can't rush him back no matter what. Even if you guys win, lose tonight, whatever. I know Pickard's injury is a little bit more severe than what they thought because they had to call up a goalie from the
I can't believe he stayed and played that game.
I know.
Because it looked bad. Like the way it was slow to get up. It didn't look good, but he finished the game. He played really well in that overtime too.
Yeah, and I'm assuming a lot of it was probably adrenaline, and then when that wears off, then you really start to feel like bad.
I mean, he still had to go sit in the locker room for 20 minutes while they were doing the ice between the third and overtime. So, I don't know if he was just stretching the whole time and just keeping that leg loose because you don't want, as soon as that tightens up, you're done.
Yeah, keep it moving, keep it loose, keep the blood flowing, keep the adrenaline, because the second that you rest it, it's over. You're not going to be able to
it's going to tighten up and you're not going to be able to move it, yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll try to get the blood flowing and it's just not going to happen. It's already too late. Quick time out before we get back to the episode, you beauties. As someone like myself who's into fitness and needs a little bit of an extra boost before a lift, or maybe I need just a little bit of energy before my next hockey game, and even when doing pod stuff to bring you guys the best content possible, W always has me covered. Whether you needed to stay awake at work or need a little bit of a jolt to get you through the day, W will always provide you that spark you need. There's no sugar, no crash, no artificial flavors or artificial dyes, just flavored caffeine. 150 milligrams of caffeine and 1 serving, which is equivalent to 2 cups of coffee. Make sure to head over to w.gg and use code CFB Pod for 10% off any order. Let's go on to the next series in the Western Conference, Winnipeg against Dallas. Dallas is up in the series 3-1. They have finally gotten healthy. They got Robertson back in game 1, like we've mentioned. They got Heiskanen back in their win last night. And the Winnipeg Jets did give a little bit of hell to Heiskanen, but you can tell that this Dallas Stars team responded so well to having one of their leaders, one of their better players back on the roster. They missed the last 30-plus games in the regular season, plus the entire first round, half of the second round, and now he's back. And, of course, they ended up winning Game 4 on the back of Mikael Granlund's Hattie.
Yeah, I don't know what is with this team and hat tricks in the playoffs so far. I don't think Winnipeg's been that bad. I don't think Connor Hellebuck's been fine in this series. Like I don't think he's been the reason why Winnipeg is losing games. Because you got to understand, no disrespect to the Blues, but the Dallas Stars are a much better team than the St. Louis Blues. They have way more depth, and they're getting healthy right now. With how many teams are getting healthy midway through round 2 of the playoffs? Like ever? Like none really. Usually everyone's playing through injuries and getting weaker, not getting stronger. So you get Heiskanen and Robertson back in this series. I'm not going to count the Jets out. They did win the President's Trophy. Anything could happen. It's the playoffs, but I think Dallas closes. I think Dallas will close this out in Game 5. To be honest with you.
Yeah, it's looking that way. And again, it's no disrespect to the Winnipeg Jets because they did win the President's Trophy. I think Connor Hellebuck, like you brought up, hasn't played that bad in the series. It's just the depth has showed up for Dallas. And the one thing that has really stuck out to me is looking at these two teams, we saw what they did down the second half of the season. The Dallas Stars in February go out and get Granlund via trade from the Sharks. And also Cody Ceci, by the way, who hasn't been that bad for the Stars
I
in the
think that was a
playoffs.
really good trade. I mean, the
Yeah.
main guy they were getting in the piece was Granlund, but CC's been good for them too. And I thought that was a great trade for them.
And he's the forgotten one in that trade because he's just a sixth defenseman, but he's
Everyone
been
everyone loves to harp on him. I don't know why. I don't know why people say. I think it was from when he was in Toronto. People used to shit on him all the time, but he wasn't that bad in for Edmonton last year in the Stanley Cup Final.
he was
Like, he played a lot
reliable.
of minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you look at Dallas's side, not Dallas's, Winnipeg side, and who did they go out and get, which I thought at the time weren't bad acquisitions, was Tanev and Shannon. That's fine to add some grit and to add depth to your team. There's nothing wrong with that. But Dallas went out and they, even though they had a lot of depth, the deepest team in the league, they went out and they got Amico Rantanen, a top 10 to 15 player in this league, who's playing like the best player in the playoffs right now. They went out and they spent a first round pick on Granlund and some defensive depth because a lot of people forget Nils Lundqvist left halfway through the season with the lower body injury and he's placed on LTIR and is not available for the entirety of this playoffs due to surgery. They fill that need, plus they add superstar depth, and all it took was a first round pick plus whatever else. That first round pick's going to turn in the between 28th to 32nd in the first round, which to the Dallas Stars is practically useless at this point, especially with the cup aspirations. And again, this is where the difference between these two teams have come because we saw Rantanen with the hat trick in game 1. We saw Granlund with the hat trick in game 4. We're not seeing a hat trick from Tanev or Shen anytime soon. And of
Hey, you
course,
never know. I mean, if Luke Shen has a hat trick in the playoffs, that would be wild. I don't even know how many goals that dude has scored in the playoffs in his career. It can't be many.
I have no idea.
He has 3 playoff goals to his name.
How many games played does he have in the playoffs?
56.
Okay, look at him, bona fide goal scorer.
44 regular season goals all time.
Bang.
So
That's
he's not much of a goal scorer. That's not why you brought him in.
No, that's not why you brought him in. And frankly, I think Jake Ottinger has gotten the job done for Dallas. He hasn't been asked to do too much, but when he has, he's stepped up. He has been one of their better players as well. Thomas Harley has been good. But overall, I do think the Stars will end up closing this out in Game 5.
I agree. I think I think right now they're the better team, and everyone's stepping up when they need to. Mikko Rantanen looks unstoppable, and just give Heiskanen and Robertson a couple games to kind of get their feet back under them. Jumping right in. After you've been sitting for a while, right into middle of a playoff series is a tough adjustment. A lot faster hockey than regular season, so they're probably going to need a couple games just to get reacclimated.
Yeah, and the playoff matchups, well, they're not set in stone yet because it's not over yet. Vegas and Winnipeg can come back. They're capable of. It's a low chance, but it's possible until 4 wins gets reached. We're looking like a crash course for Dallas and Edmonton, which would be a very exciting Western Conference Finals matchup. And it's a rematch from last year, and I think both teams would be excited for it, especially Dallas, which I thought that Dallas should have won last year. And then Stuart Skinner, Connor McDavid, Bouchard all happened, and the
I
rest
mean,
is
Edmonton
history.
was the better team last year.
From games 4 to 6, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of went crazy. I think it would be really interesting. I mean, I'm not gonna write off either the series yet. The playoffs, anything crazy could happen.
Right.
That they do seem like the most likely option is they play each other in the third round, and I think that would be really, really interesting. And then on the Eastern Conference side, we can move into our last Eastern Conference series that we can talk about is that Carolina, who's currently up 3-1 against the Washington Capitals, and I think people need to start taking the Hurricanes more seriously.
Yes, they do. The Hurricanes, their system is so suffocating. Rod Brendamore doesn't care what it takes to win. He doesn't care if the shots are 10-2 in favor of Carolina and they win 1-0. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. He's going to have these guys disciplined. They're one of the most disciplined teams remaining in the playoffs. They don't have that game breaker like you see some of these other top teams do, but you know what they have? They have the depth, they have the coach, and they have the goaltending, by the way. Frederik Andersen right now, if it wasn't for Mikko Rantanen, would be my Conn Smythe favorite. Like, he's out of this world right now.
Spashnaho's been pretty good for them in the playoffs as well, though.
Yeah, personally, the most underrated center in the entire league, by far, I think.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I also don't get the hate that the Hurricanes get on social media for playing this boring style of hockey. Like, I get because it sucks to watch, but like I've said already 6 million times, if it gets them wins, who cares, right? Like, Hurricanes fans don't give a fuck. If it wins them a Stanley Cup, who cares? Like, they get a bunch of shots from the point, from the boards, and then they also capitalize on other players' mistakes from the opposing team. And they capitalize on those chances. Their power play, they capitalize on the chances. Their penalty kill is so good. They don't allow a ton of clean entries. And when the team gets set up in the offensive zone on the penalty kill, they just don't give them anything inside, and it's great. And then when Frederik Andersen is asked to make a save, he makes a save. And on Washington's side of things, it feels like the Canes have tired them out at this point. We are really seeing the depth of the Capitals start to struggle, get past this system that we have talked about time after time again, and really crack the Canes. And Logan Thompson hasn't even been that bad in the series, but the Hurricanes have been they've been suffocating them so much, they haven't been able to get shots on. And when they've gotten shots on, the Hurricanes have gotten into shot lanes and they've made life miserable for these guys. They've made life miserable for your Dylan Stromes, your Alex Ovechkins, Connor McMichael. Protas has been iffy. And it's I don't think that's a look at the Capitals at how, I guess, meh they are about whatever, how they overperformed and overexceeded expectations this year. That says more about Carolina as a team than Washington as a team.
Yeah, I think it was pretty easy to write them off, after they traded Rantanen away, where, they did lose that true game breaker. Sebastian Aho's great. I think he's a tier below Rantanen right now. Just as a player, I think Aho is an elite center, though. Don't get me wrong. But, I also didn't have in the cards Freddie Andersen playing the best hockey probably of his career. Which is crazy considering the season started with him not even playing due to blood clots. Come for a circle now. He's in the playoffs and playing lights out of his mind. And I hate to say this, but I feel like it might be them in Florida in the conference final. And if you're complaining about watching the Hurricanes, you're gonna hate that series. Oh man, that's gonna be a lot of defensive hockey right there, baby.
I'm gonna
A
try
lot
to
of 2-1, 2-0, 1-0 games. Really, really tight games. I'd be shocked if in that series either team scored over 4 goals in a game.
This is also part of the reason why I'm praying for the Maple Leafs to get in over the Cats, because I know the Hurricanes are getting in right now. I don't see them blowing it through and lead at all.
Neither do
And
I. They haven't really made any mistakes in the playoffs so far.
they
Like
haven't.
honestly, like the only thing that really happened was Freddie Andersen missed a game,
Yeah,
and that
and
was it. And the team rose to the occasion despite the not elite goaltending because Kochekov was fine in the one game he played, but he didn't post at like a 950 save percentage like Freddie Andersen's been doing like it seems like every other night. But I think Toronto would be a really fun matchup for them in the third round. I think it would really I would say test their ability to slow down their opponents because the way I look at it, we kind of talked about this yesterday in our meeting when we were getting ready for this. Is they play the Devils in the first round. Not really a player you have to really worry about just breaking the game open. I know Nikki Hischier had a great series, but Timo Meyer didn't really show up. Not really a guy. After you lose Jack Hughes, he's not really a guy you have to worry about completely containing. And then on the Capitals, they have a bunch of great players. Ovi's almost 40 years old. They're not putting him out like the game they did win in this series. He did not play the last 5 minutes of the game because they wanted to protect the lead, and he's a liability out there when it's in the defensive first mindset because he's so slow.
yeah, and I'm gonna watch game 1 of that Cats and Hurricanes series if it happens. If that's the outcome of it, I'm gonna try to, and I'm going to probably want to shut the game off.
Well, the thing is, like, to finish my point, like,
Yeah.
if they do end up playing a team like Toronto, in the conference final, I think that would be a really, really good test of their defensive system because they have multiple guys you really got to worry about on that team. You have Austin Matthews, you have Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares. Just those four guys on the front end. They can play separate if you need them to, and I think each of them has an ability to kind of do their thing. Especially a guy William Nylander, I think, has been the best player for the Maple Leafs so far in the playoffs. But Matthews, if he can get out of the scoring slump, he's another really dangerous player. And to me, that would really take to slow those four guys down. It's kind of similar to what Florida's doing right now. Is you need everyone on the team to step up and
Yeah.
do their part and take responsibility and slowing down those guys and not letting them break the game open because I'm not going to say that Carolina wouldn't be able to keep up in a track meet, but they don't want to get to a track meet.
We've seen Toronto in the track meet in the playoffs before where they can win those games, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the games that they have trouble, which Carolina is very good at winning at, which the Panthers are really good winning at, where it's a 2-1, 3-2 games, or it's like a 1-goal game, or it's a tie goal game, and it's slow scoring, it's defensive, tight checking, and you have to play that for a full 60 minutes for multiple
Mm-hmm.
games straight. That's where Toronto has trouble. And if Toronto gets past the Cats and they have to play the Hurricanes, like you said, they haven't had to face that game breaker, multiple of them in one series at all. They haven't faced one at all, if we're being completely honest. So even though Matthews is on a goalless drought right now, he's always a threat no matter what. Even though Marner, he's always a threat. Same with Nylander. Now you have to worry about Nyes. And you also, guess what?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, he's
Have
been
to
good
worry
too.
about John Tavares in the slot, getting deflections or getting those dirty goals because that's what he does for Toronto. That's how he almost got a 40-goal season this year and scored 80 points. You have
Yeah, I think as a hockey fan, I definitely want to see Carolina Toronto more in the conference final. I think it would be a really clash of what two teams are really good at. So I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're fine. Yeah, and I agree with that point. Just it'd be interesting to watch from a strategic standpoint as well, too. See how Rod Brendamore reacts to the Leafs and see how Berube can figure out ways to crack the Canes' defensive system.
Hmm.
And it just he might have to tell the players, just get pucks in deep. You have to win puck battles or else we're not going to win this series. Simple as that.
I think that's what Toronto's done this year to kind of move in that direction. I love how we were supposed to be talking about the Canes and we end up talking about other teams. That's why Canes fans get so mad all the time about people disrespecting their team. But
I mean, it's
Toronto's been kind of trying to change their roster makeup and how their play style to kind of adjust, for these kinds of playoff series. Because teams in years past, if they had to play a tight checking team that played really disciplined defense, they were going to lose that series. They did lose those series.
can
The only team they beat was Tampa one year. All the other they lost to Boston a bunch. They lose to Florida in the second round, get killed by Florida because they didn't have an answer for their suffocating defense and their tight forecheck. And that's what really Berube's been trying to change for the Maple Leafs this year. And so far, Florida's made adjustments to change up how they play, and Toronto I don't think has responded well enough.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I'm pivoting back to the Canes real quick because, of course,
1-0 Florida.
1-0 Florida. Fuck, man. I know it's early, but still. Pivoting to the Canes real quick. Canes fans, if you have to pray that the Leafs pull it out against the Cats, because this might not be me underrating. I'm rooting for the Maple Leafs to get to the finals because I think it'd be sick, to be honest with you, for the NHL. And plus, even though I'm on Dallas' side, seeing a McDavid Matthews finals would be it would be electric. It'd be cinema. Canada would go nuts.
I think Canada would literally implode. I don't think they'd be able to handle McDavid Matthews in the Stanley Cup final.
But if the Canes get Toronto, I do think that's the Canes' best possible chance to get at least in the finals and be the East representative. And I think they have the makeup to do so.
This has been a really interesting, these last few teams because nothing's set in stone yet.
Mm-hmm.
I love how we're talking about these potential matchups for teams that might not necessarily win the series. You never know what will happen. Typically when you have a 3-1 lead, you don't blow it. Typically, it has happened a few times.
Yeah.
But typically, you tend to hold on to that and you close it out in game 5 or game 6. But it's been really interesting to see the way the playoffs has gone this year. And I think these conference finals, hopefully we could talk about it on Saturday. No, but I don't even see. I think the only series I could potentially see going 7 is Toronto, Florida. But I think, like I said, I think if Florida wins tonight, I think that series is over in 6.
If that's the last series, let's say all of these teams with 3 wins coming into tonight, close it out, and then we see Florida, let's say Florida, Toronto, whatever, whoever wins tonight's game, they're up 3-2 and they win Friday. We're gonna see a conference finals matchup, I think, on Saturday.
I don't think they'll play on Saturday.
You don't think
No.
Saturday? You think they'll wait till Sunday?
So Game 5 is tonight for Vegas, and I mean maybe Western Conference Final, but I think it depends if.
What
So
does Dallas?
I don't know who if Dallas and Edmonton played. I don't know who would have home ice.
Vegas.
They're
Vegas. What? They had more points in the standings.
No, I'm not talking about Vegas.
Oh.
Dallas and Edmonton.
Oh.
I think Dallas would, because Dallas is the 2 seed. Were they the 3? No, they were the 2 seed in the Central bracket, right?
Yeah.
And Edmonton's the 3. I think Dallas also had more regular season points than the Oilers.
They did.
I mean, but Dallas to Edmonton's a long travel day. I think they'd probably start Sunday.
When does Dallas play Winnipeg tomorrow night?
Yes,
right?
tomorrow
right?
night.
Okay. I mean,
because they played last night.
I wouldn't hate if they ended up doing it the Sunday though. I really wouldn't hate.
Yeah,
that.
I think that would be the earliest you could see him starting, because I think Sunday would be a more potential day for the Eastern Conference Finals to start if it ends up being Carolina and Washington and Carolina and Florida, because Game 6 for Toronto, Florida would be Friday night, and Carolina and Florida is not a super far trip.
And that the game's in Florida as well, and if Carolina ends it tomorrow night, then they already have a day ahead, and Florida's already in Florida.
Yeah, so I don't know if they want to give teams extra rest days, but I see Sunday as potentially being the first day. If everything goes right, and the whole second round's over Friday night.
I do think worst. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I think Sunday would be the earliest you see the conference finals series start. At least I think the East would probably have a better chance of starting first.
That's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, all of our socials are down below, as well as the subscribe button. Go ahead and follow our Instagram for more exclusive content. We'll see you guys in our next episode.